Okay, everybody, let's make some clay snakes. You're gonna need a bag full of clay with your name on it. Don't use anybody else's. You're gonna be working on a mat. The mat looks janky, but it's really cool. It comes with two parts. One helps it not stick to the table, and the other helps the water stay off the table as well. Now let's talk about the tools you'll need. You're going to need a rolling pin just for a little bit at the beginning. You are going to need a nasty toothbrush for scratching and scoring the clay to make it stick together. A popsicle stick is what you'll use to cut pieces of clay off for decorations. And also for decorating and writing your name on your project, you will have a pointy wooden stick. Last, I almost forgot. You'll need a little cup of water so that you can dunk your fingers into it every once in a while to keep your clay wet while you're working with it. Let's just get started. Today you'll be using two pieces of clay. One is a little square. The other is a bigger rectangle. Okay, so there's a rectangle here with two short sides and two long sides, and then there's a square with four equal sides. Take the square first. This little square is going to be the base or the bottom of your snake pot. You need to take the rolling pin and gently roll up and down in all four directions on this little square. So see how I'm rolling it gently up and down, and then I'm turning the clay and rolling up and down. This makes it nice and even. We don't want the base of our pot to be paper thin. We want it to be about as thick as a fluffy pancake. Now, out of this square, you can decide what shape your pot is going to be. This is the bottom of your pot. So you can make it a circle, like that, or you can make a square or a heart. Whatever shape you want is great. But here are the rules. You need to make your shape as big as will fit on your slab. Make this nice and big because that means you'll have a nice big pot. And notice I'm using my pointy stick to draw the shape I want first. And if I don't like it, I can erase it with my finger. It doesn't really matter if you can see it a little bit. And when I've decided on my final shape, which is a circle, I'm going to switch to the popsicle stick to actually cut it out. So I decided on a circle, and I used the popsicle stick to cut it out. Remember to use water every now and then to make your clay nice and smooth and to keep it workable so that you can change the shape of it. Excellent. Once you have the bottom of your pot made, you're going to want to write your name on it so that it's yours. In case we have to clean up in the middle of things, we know that this is the bottom of your pot. So gently write your name on the back of that base, and then take your spare clay. And anytime you want to change the shape of clay dramatically, you need to use water to help it stay smooth and soft so you can change it. And here's where the coil comes in. We're going to use our hands as well as our clay mat to roll a snake shape out of clay, and that is called a coil. You get to decide how thick or thin you want your snake's body to be, and when you have your coil ready, it's time to wrap it around the base. Every time that you add a coil to the pot, you need to scratch and score both pieces you're sticking together. Otherwise, when it dries, it's gonna crumble apart and you don't want that. So here we go. I've got my snake started, but I need more clay. This is where that rectangle comes in. I'm going to use the popsicle stick once again to cut the clay into strips the long way. We want nice long pieces of clay from that rectangle so that we can squeeze them and roll them into coils to make our snake longer, to wrap around the base many times. Again, when your coil is nice and even and it's the same thickness as your first coil, you need to attach the ends and stack the coil around your shape at the bottom. You need to take the toothbrush, of course, and scratch and score that coil and the base as well. Make sure that you don't just scratch and score, but you also press the coil down too to make it stay. And go back every time you add a coil and smooth out the rough, cracked areas with water, and use your fingers to smooth the line you see between the two ends of the coil. This helps make it look like one snake. So right here, I'm going to rub the clay together to make it look like one piece. And I'm going to do that every time I add a new coil. You need to keep going until you have at least 3 stacks of coils. Right now I have 2, and I'm going to speed this up and add the rest. Okay, I've added enough coils that I actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stacks. So I'm definitely done adding coils. Next, all I need to do to create the snake's head is pull up the last bit of your coil that you made and just flatten the head by pinching it just a little bit. Now this clay is wet, so it's not going to want to stand up very easily. You're going to have to keep fixing the head and standing it back up until you're ready to let it dry. So don't worry about that too much. But check it out. See how it looks like a snake head just by pressing it a little bit? It's really cool. And now you get to really be creative and use your tools and extra clay and scratching and scoring to add awesome details to make your snake unique. Here are a few ideas for decorations. So, you can use the pointy tool to add some texture, like polka dots with either end. It makes 2 different sizes of polka dots. Or you can even draw stripes on your snake with the pointy tool as well. And you can go all the way down the whole snake with that texture. And another thing you can do is get extra clay from your bag, cut pieces off of the cubes, and create attachments. Like here, I'm going to create 2 eyeballs, big eyeballs, with a little piece of clay and the pointy tool to add the dot for the eye. But here's the thing, if you add clay to the snake, then you need to scratch and score everything. Wherever you're going to stick the clay, it needs to be scratched. And whatever you're sticking onto the clay needs to be scratched. So I'm finished with my second eye. I'm scratching and scoring it so that I can stick it onto the face. And he is super cute with his new set of eyes. Now he can see. I am going to add a tongue at the end of his mouth as well with a tiny little coil. And I'm going to add some more polka dots around his body. You could do anything else you wanted. You could cut a piece of clay off and create a unicorn horn for this little guy. Or a big, some big spikes for him. Or, a little bow tie, a little hat, little polka dots all over. Whatever strikes your fancy, create it out of clay and attach it with scratching and scoring. I cannot wait to see what you decide to do with your snake. I decided to add a couple of little eggs inside of the snake pot. I did scratch and score them inside there so that they stick. And check out my texture. Looking great. But looks like while I was working on him, his head broke a little bit and his tongue got all bent. That's okay, the clay is still wet, so I can fix this very easily. I'm just going to take that head that broke off, and I'm going to scratch and score the pieces and kind of mush it back on there. No problem. And I am going to use, since I'm done and he's ready to dry, I'm going to use a napkin that's scrunched up to go under his little head, like a pillow, so that the clay can dry right here where I want the head to be, and then later, when I'm ready to fire it, I'm going to take out the paper towel, and the head is going to be standing tall. So that's what you're going to do with your snake head. Tuck a little pillow under his neck until he dries, and Mrs. Toth will take it out later. Alright, peace out. Can't wait to fire these.